What's up, everyone? Welcome into Dodger Heads presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel. We've got a Dodger Heads short for you today. And today we are talking a big roster deadline coming up for the Dodgers. I think there's going to be some big news around Major League Baseball because December 2nd, tomorrow, is the deadline for teams to tender contracts to any players who aren't officially under contract. Now, what do I mean by not officially under contract? We're talking about guys who have not yet reached free agency. We're talking about guys who are arbitration eligible or even pre-arbitration eligible. These are players who have non-guaranteed contracts on a year-to-year basis with their teams, and all the team has to do is tender them a contract, and then they either enter into arbitration, or if it's pre-arbitration, they just get to say, hey, here's what you're going to make this season. But any player who does not receive a tender would then immediately become a free agent. Now, you might hear that and think, well, who are we really talking about? Are there any big names? Well, actually, last year, a guy like Blake Treinen, who came over to the Dodgers on a $10 million deal, was non-tendered by his previous team, the Oakland A's. So people around Major League Baseball are expecting a lot of releases, a lot of big names, potentially real quality Major League Baseball players to be non-tendered simply because teams are in trouble financially. And they might look at a guy in the ilk of a Blake Treinen and say, he's a really nice player, but if we're the Oakland A's, can we afford to pay him $7 or $8 million? Whereas a team like the Dodgers might scoop somebody up like that. So it will be an interesting day around the league. Now, what does this mean for the Dodgers? Well, the Dodgers only really have a handful of guys signed to contracts post-free agency. We're talking Mookie Betts, David Price, Clayton Kershaw, Kenley Jansen, A.J. Pollock, Max Muncy, Joe Kelly, and Chris Taylor. Literally everybody else on the roster is pre-free agency, so every single player besides the ones I just mentioned would need to be tendered. That includes Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Walker Buehler, Julio Urias. Now, I will break news for you today. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Walker Buehler, Julio Urias, they are going to be tendered contracts. They will be with the Dodgers. Breaking news, surprising, shocking, I know. But the real decision tomorrow comes on some of the back end of the roster guys. I'm thinking veterans like Dylan Floro and Scott Alexander. I think those are the two real decisions the Dodgers need to make. If you go to places like Spot Track or MLB Trade Rumors, they estimate arbitration values. Both Floro and Alexander are projected to be somewhere in the $1 million to $1.2 million range. And so the question for the Dodgers are, do you like Scott Alexander and Dylan Floro enough to pay them $1 or $1.2 million next season? Some things working in Alexander and Floro's favor is they both have options remaining, meaning the Dodgers could sign them to that contract and then option them to the minor leagues throughout the year with no penalty. Alexander has 2 option years. Floro has 1 remaining. So I think that works in their advantage from the sense of that makes them more appealing to the Dodgers. And honestly, I would be surprised. I wouldn't say shocked, but I'd be surprised if either of these guys was not tendered a contract. I think they're both quality major league arms. They're not closers per se, but they're guys you can trust, guys who have gotten big arm outs for the Dodgers, and they're just arms that the Dodgers can use. We know they like to churn through bullpen arms throughout the season. I also think the way the Dodgers handled Rule 5 protection, I think there were probably a couple relief arms in the minor leagues that they may have protected had they been thinking they were going to get rid of Floro or Alexander. Now, I could be wrong on that, but that's just my prediction. So I think both Floro and Alexander will be back with the Dodgers and will be tendered contracts. So the bottom line is I wouldn't expect much excitement for the Dodgers tomorrow. I think you'll see, again, I think there will be some excitement around the league, some guys that are being non-tendered. Some people think this is going to get free agency moving in the right direction, but with the Dodgers, I wouldn't expect excitement. For what it's worth, when I talk about guys like Bellinger, Seager, who are entering into arbitration, MLB Trade Rumors, again, Spot Track, places like that, they project out what someone might make in arbitration. For what it's worth, Cody Bellinger projected to earn about $13 million this year, Corey Seager $12 million, Walker Buehler $2.7 million, Julio Urias $2.3 million. And aside from Floro and Alexander, the only other guy arbitration eligible is Austin Barnes, who's projected to make around $1.5 million. So again, I'm not expecting much excitement for the Dodgers, but I am expecting some excitement around Major League Baseball. So stay tuned here at DodgerBlue.com. We'll have all the updates tomorrow on guys that are tendered and non-tendered, both with the Dodgers and around the league. Make sure you're subscribed to Dodger Blue 1958. Ring the notification bell as well. We're going to start putting out these Dodger Head shorts every single day when breaking news comes across or when news stories that we find important enough to put out. So you'll want to know when these are coming through. So make sure that. And as always, follow us on social media, Dodger Blue 1958 at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. One last plug. For Dodger Heads, we go live every Monday night at 9 p.m. Last night, we did our our second part in a series of the 2021 season preview. We talked infield. So that's got some big storylines, right? Corey Seager versus Nolan Arenado, Francisco Lindor, Chris Bryant. Who do you like long-term out of that group? We talked about that. What to do with Justin Turner? How much do we trust Gavin Lux? And is Will Smith a star in the making? All sorts of good stuff. So make sure you check that out. But we appreciate you joining us as always, and we'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.